bridge collapsed. The mountain road washed out. All the signs are obscured by fog. Your only directions are detours. Eventually it dawns on you. Sometimes you need to get lost to discover where you're supposed to be. Welcome to Merlin's Barn.
Hello, and welcome to Merlin's Barn, broadcasting to you, as always, live with a in-studio audience who has just waved from Fort Blanket, south of the Yukon. Tonight you have myself, Merlin.
T.
And Matt.
And we are going to discuss with you an episode that we actually recorded a while back, and I realized it was disappointing and did not do justice to the individual. So you're being welcomed now to the man in the polka dot house. To start with, his name was Louis Scholz. And Louis Scholz joined the U.S. Army in 1941. In December of 1942, he was promoted to first lieutenant and would eventually make captain. He trained in Denver, Colorado. Hold on, I'm moving the sheet to where I can actually see it. I forget that I can't see or hear on that side. Yay! He trained in Denver, Colorado, and went on to work in a military photo lab. One of Scholz's projects was improving night photography by reconnaissance planes. The film development process, which he eventually was able to patent, involved the dry development of film prints, which allowed for the speedier development of photos from reconnaissance missions. The process, when described in depth, seems reminiscent of the Polaroid camera film, though we have not found a direct relationship. And quick side note, you will find out in a little while exactly why we're covering this fellow in particular, other than you've never heard of him and you've never heard of the Polka Dot House, and you really need to hear about the Polka Dot House.
Side note to a side note, didn't Kodak also have a direct processing method?
Yeah, I think they did. Maybe they got theirs from Scholz. I figured his has to have gone on into something after the war.
I figured it must have gone somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. So with his film development process, the system worked so well that the Allies became more effective at finding hidden launch pads. This led to the discovery of more German V-2 rockets and launch sites. Over 1,000 of these V-2 rockets, that'd be a waste, little like piece of jewelry raining down from the sky.
No, but a little medallion made from like pieces of a V-2 rocket, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, but I think they're aiming more to like bomb things. So
recycling.
Yeah, but they haven't used them yet, so is it really recycling to just make it and then tear it apart?
Well, it's after you use it, dummy.
Okay, so we'll just wander around the English countryside because these things were almost entirely ineffective and find remains of V-2 rockets, and then, which somebody probably did, honestly.
See?
Once the rockets are up, who cares where they come down? That's not my department, says Werner von Braun.
Most of these, 1,000 of these V-2 rockets were launched by the Germans from mobile platforms during World War II. Most were aimed at London, and they took about 5 minutes to reach their target. They were also aimed throughout Europe. They're also really hard to aim, so they were almost useless for aiming at military targets.
Highly ineffective?
Yeah, highly ineffective. In fact, the scientist in charge of them, German scientist Werner von Braun, was later brought to the United States with a group of other scientists after the war, and went on to design ballistic missiles and rockets for NASA. In fact, he's really the reason we made it to the moon, was our fellow Werner von Braun, who actually got into designing rockets initially because he wanted to make it to the moon, and then he got sidetracked on this whole V-2 rocket thing.
It was pretty much, we'll give the money to fund your quote-unquote rockets. Oh, but now we have to weaponize them.
Yeah, now we have to weaponize them.
But they were milking it.
Yeah, so he's a character.
Sidebar.
That's a total sidebar and a complete other podcast, which the podcast Cautionary Tales does really, really good coverage of him.
And you can read about, on your own time, you can look up Operation Paperclip was the program to bring over these German scientists.
Yeah. And that was sort of I think one of the things was they had to have not been like a member of the Nazi Party or not directly been involved in anything, and that with Werner von Braun was massively overlooked. I mean, slave labor, member of the SS, just sort of overlook that stuff because...
Literally little Aryan poster boy.
Yeah, but hey, rockets. Rockets are good. All right, Tasha, it's your turn.
All right. Continuing his work in photography, Mr. Scholz was assigned to the Manhattan Project in Los Alamos, New Mexico. Fans of the film Oppenheimer and World War II buffs will, of course, recognize the Manhattan Project. But for those who don't know, here's T's brief rundown. I should not throw my papers. On the
T's
Manhattan.
brief rundown. Dun, dun, dun.
On the...
How dramatic that was.
Thank you, I try, even when no one can see it. Here's my rundown for y'all on the Manhattan Project. In 1938, German scientists are going to discover nuclear fission. Ah!
It was sort of by mistake. It was, what is it?
Yes, but they realized its potential very, very quickly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were just like, this is bad, don't do that.
Oh, the Germans loved it.
Well, I mean, Otto Hahn was excited about it, but, oh, geez.
On the flip side, we have Leo Szilard, who is a Hungarian physicist who teams up with Albert Einstein to actually send a letter to FDR in 1939 warning of this powerful new technology and its potential for weaponization. Because of this letter, FDR is going to create the Advisory Committee on Uranium. And then after Pearl Harbor happens in 1941, the ACU is going to dictate that attempting to build an atomic weapon could be used to quote-unquote influence the outcome of the war.
Bombing something, flattening it. Maybe that would make people make decisions. Yeah, probably.
That could have an influence on the outcome.
It does sometimes.
Wow,
you know?
a city of ours disappeared. Maybe we should
Oopsies.
surrender. Possibly.
Possibly. Either way, with this coming to light, the Army Corps of Engineers is going to begin its Manhattan Project under the direction of Brigadier General Leslie Groves. And it's going to have 3 main sites that contribute to the project. There's Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and Hanford, Washington. These are the 2 production hubs for plutonium. This is where they're going to basically enrich it. They're going to produce it. But there's not going to be enough viable plutonium until 1945. So it takes 4 years from the start of this project for them to actually have anything usable. During this time, though, we have our friends over at Los Alamos, New Mexico. This is going to be where they're designing and going to end up developing and testing the bomb when there's finally enough plutonium. The test is known as the Trinity test, and part of the big reason for it was trying an implosion method for the bomb rather than the kind of gun-like chamber method that was used beforehand, is my understanding.
Once again, not named after our cat.
She is a very good girl, though, and I would not blame her for dropping the bomb.
On the gray, on the 3 gray cats, yes, I could actually see her doing that. We come back and like part of the barn is flattened, and she's sitting there going, "Look what I did."
Oh, Trini. Anyway, so to wrap this up, the Trinity Project itself is going to take place at the White Sands Missile Range in the White Sands National Park, which, fun fact, is still a used missile range by the American military, which I think is kind of neat.
Wait a sec. So, is this a place that they're selling used missiles, or it's a missile range that they're still using?
It's a missile range that they're still using. You cannot take things from it.
I was all excited.
Oh, I was excited too.
Well, you said used missile range, so I was just like, $5! This could go back to the Redstone Arsenal one that we were dealing with many episodes ago.
Dermo auctions
That's-
are amazing.
I thought maybe they had a gift store.
They must.
That'd be great.
Once a year.
Take home your own rockets.
Once a year. And this year it's on Merlin's birthday. Once a year they do let people into the Trinity site, like the public, to explore it.
And you exit through the gift shop.
And get to take home your own rocket.
So if we can get enough Substack subscribers, we'd like to make that a trip for the podcast. Help us go there, please.
Please give us more
You
than
cannot
two.
see it, but I'm doing flappy hands.
Mostly because Tasha and I want rocks.
Oh shoot, my stuff's going everywhere. No, it is literally one of my dreams is to go visit the Trinity site because I'm just fascinated. All right. So the first test is on July 16th of 1945, literally 1 week after opening the range. Literally 1 week. It's like they put everything up, they put everything together in a singular week. It's go time.
Of course, there was a lot of lead up to it.
Well, yes.
So that
4
was sort of
years
like,
worth.
maybe that was like the grand opening party. Hey, we're all here.
Started off with a bang.
Let's nuke it.
So, my darling gadget, they are going to create a crater that is a half a mile across, 8 feet deep. They're a little one. They're just the beginning. But do you folks know what that crater is filled with?
Hamsters. Many, many, many millions of hamsters.
That would
horrifying.
be really weird and a very big problem for Oppenheimer.
Millions of hamsters. Oppenheimer standing there going, oh God, what have I done? As he is overrun with hamsters.
My God, what have I done?
I have become bringer of hamsters.
No. One of my favorite rock/elements, Trinitite, which is a really cool rock that we're going to bring up in a later episode about weird rocks.
Not hamsters.
And then the site will close until 1953. Then it'll reopen again and become the site we know today that is part of the national parks.
Sweet.
Yay!
So a couple of interesting little asides to that. Oak Ridge, it was called the Secret City. The uranium enrichment, the building there, was at one time the largest building in the world.
Oh, really?
That's insane. I did not know that.
Yep. It's now it's a bunch of other facilities in that space. But for a little while, because we had friends that lived in Oak Ridge, so for a little while I had a bit of a fascination with the Oak Ridge National Laboratory and the secret city there. The other aside is, if you remember our episode on Jeffrey Pike and the Berg ships, had the Manhattan Project not been successful, we may have had a podcast talking about it the same way that we talked about making giant iceberg boats.
Oh, wow.
Because the Manhattan Project, the Berg ships, these were grand ideas that were dreamed up during World War II and leading up to World War II. And some succeeded and some didn't.
Some melted.
Some melted.
So go back and listen to that episode if you're a new listener.
And I still have to read that huge book that I got on Pike, and then we'll just do another deep dive into the man himself.
Oh, yeah. So much more.
Well, back on Mr. Scholz, there was an episode about a guy named Mr. Scholz in a polka dot house. If you guys all remember that, we'll be back on that.
After this brief commercial break.
I just remembered I have a whole book about the Manhattan Project and the building of the bomb and the aftermath that I keep meaning to read.
You knew about this episode. You knew it was coming up. Why wasn't it all read last week?
Do I look like someone with time?
No.
Exactly. I'm chasing 20 toddlers at once daily.
I think you did a fine job of summarizing the Manhattan
I think it was a
Project
good
there.
job. And just to note, folks, the chasing toddlers is not a hobby. It's an actual job.
I get paid measly money for it, but it's a living.
Back to Mr. Scholz.
So I'm going to just derail it again because Mr. Scholz was assigned to a unit with Doc Edgerton, who was specializing in strobe and night photography. Doc Edgerton applied his photography experiments towards developing the Rapatronic camera, which could capture the first flash of a nuclear explosion in a billionth of a second. Now, pause for a moment here. 1 billionth of a second. If you're a fan of those YouTube channels where they do the high-speed photography and they show things bouncing off a trampoline with the high-speed Phantom cameras, the fastest Phantom camera, their latest model, can do 76,000 frames in a second. So 1/76,000th of a second? Or these photos in the 40s were in a billionth of a second.
It's baffling between the equipment and the film speed and everything like that.
And I'm going to jump on a quick aside here. Harold Edgerton published some books with some of these photos. A book called Stopping Time. And due to my uncle, I actually have a signed copy of that book in like a presentation case.
Which is freaking cool.
And there's photos of like a bullet going through a playing card and showing the paper tearing. It is that moment in time. It's incredible, the photography that was being done.
In what we would call the analog era.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, this was on film, which is also amazing that they had ways to keep the film from being just demolished by the radiation.
Yeah.
2 notes with that. So, one, Kodak was actually one of the first, I guess, outside entities to find out about the atomic bomb testing because they had a bunch of their film get screwed up by radiation particles and fallout that like drifted in the direction of their manufacturing.
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I don't remember what the museum's name is called, but there's a radiation museum, I believe, out in Nevada.
That would make sense.
But they have one of those pieces of film that was affected and developed.
Yeah, because we essentially just put it out there and changed a whole pile of things. I mean, like, they look for steel. The reason why they dive for shipwrecks and steal the metal is because it's pre-atomic steel. But we're wandering again.
Yep. Well, there's gonna be some more wandering probably.
Oh, my number 2 thing. Well, that's a question. Does the book have the picture of the manhole lid?
I don't believe that book
fastest
does.
Object.
Did they get a photo? I don't think they got a photo of that. Did they?
I think they do not have a photo of it because I believe it was shown intact, and in the next frame, a billionth of a second later, it's gone.
It was so fast they couldn't get a picture.
Yep, that'll be
That's
something
insane.
we'll talk about the world's fastest man-made object at a later episode.
Yeah.
It's a great story. No, I have to bring the book next time we get together. I completely forgot to bring it this time. So back to Scholz again. Poor guy. We keep talking about everything around him. This is supposed to be about him.
All Scholz, all the time.
Another item that he was working on was testing radiation levels by exposing irradiated items to film. This was also used to gauge how much radiation workers at Los Alamos were exposed to, which I guess actually ties back to what you were saying about Kodak discovering their film being impacted by the low levels of radiation in, what was it, the water or something?
It might
It
have
might have
been.
been. I forget. I did run into an article
But
about
one
that a
of
couple
the
weeks ago.
things was they chose very specifically where their manufacturing facilities were to avoid any sort of contamination. Then all of a sudden they have this run of film that's like, why is this so screwed up? This was one of our perfect little facilities. New Mexico, what you doing down there?
So, post-war, Mr. Scholz, in 1947, Louis and his brother Joseph, a lawyer, set up a cooperative called the Manufacturers Research Corporation. Their office was in a basement on Mulberry Street in Baltimore. As reported by the Baltimore Sun, commercial exploitation of GI wartime ingenuity through patents granted armed forces personnel is the basis for a veterans cooperative that announced its opening today. The business was Joseph's idea. For a period of time, Louis was sleeping on a cot in the office. So that sounds like a really interesting sort of business that they had set up.
Yeah,
actually.
I actually went and looked it up and found that the old row house is still standing, and this was like a basement walk-down office they had that he was just had the. I think he had a lab in there, and literally just had like an army cot in a corner.
But I mean, that's the offices. That's neat too. But I mean, what the concept of what they were doing just sounds.
Oh yeah. It was basically, and the whole concept they're looking at is like all these inventions these guys come up with, due to the war, and okay, how do we help these guys patent this? No, I think it's a really cool idea. And it's one of those things, one of those reasons why as I delved into him, I'm like, we really have to cover this guy because who's heard of that? I'd never heard of that before.
It's actually like insane and really important too, though, because that gives those guys their rights to their own inventions back before the army can snag them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they will do that.
Or just helping them just get a foothold in business by getting a patent and taking this idea that they came up with somewhere around the world during the wartime experience. They came up with some gadget or did something.
Yeah, turning it into something they can make money.
It improved their life during that time, and they came back and it's like, oh, you can still apply this or something, but you need some help getting this. A patent that you can then take to a company to get it manufactured.
This was something throughout Lewis's life. Was he eventually becomes a patent attorney, and is really just sort of there to help anybody that he can help.
No, but especially for men returning post-war, and this being after the Great Depression, where everyone was like, "Crap, we lost our jobs." What a sum up! This is huge because that is ensuring jobs for not just the people patenting, but...
Wait a sec. We got to correct something here. I thought the Great Depression was due to a world shortage of Zoloft. Am I wrong?
That's my depression, honey.
Oh, okay. I had like 100 years apart. Sorry.
We'll get to the Velcro crop in California another time.
Okay. Do you want to hear about glowing trees?
Yes, I'd love to hear about glowing
I
trees.
really do, actually.
It's really cool. I just bumped your foot. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God, the violence.
All right.
Big blue thumb.
So, people knew that Lewis was science-y.
Science-y?
Science-y, that's the word I'm going with.
He's Mr. Wizard.
I mean, when you're asking him about glowing trees, that's basically what they're looking at.
It's gonna be
Mr. Alchemist Man, can you tell me why my tree glows? Like, come on. All right. So, Lewis was called on to solve a couple tree-related scientific mysteries after the business had started. Both of these were reported in the Baltimore Sun. The first, in June, involved a fellow who was quite concerned about the glowing tree in his yard. A Mr. Libertini chopped down a tree to find glowing chunks and a glow from the stump itself. Lewis Scholz came to the tree and used the film exposure method he had developed to see if there was any radiation. After an hour of exposure and some processing time in the lab, he was able to confirm there was no radiation, just a common bioluminescence called foxfire, or fairy fire is the other name for it. It's caused by fungus. I love fungus.
Although I feel like Mr. Libertini was taking an extreme approach. There's this tree in my yard that's glowing. I'm going to chop it down.
Well,
no, it's still glowing. Okay, call the scientist.
Actually, it wasn't glowing before he chopped it down.
Because
it was
the
chopping
fungus thrives on rot, like most fungi do. It more than likely developed inside the tree first.
Oh, okay.
And he probably went to chop down the tree because he's like, crap, my tree's dying.
Okay,
Gotta
okay.
do something about it
I feel
before
better
it
now.
falls over.
Possessed.
And it's
Well,
possessed.
that was discovered afterwards when it started glowing at him. Okay,
Yeah.
Oh
I feel
no,
better
we let
now.
the demons out.
I was like,
Turns out it's just
I
fungus.
thought it was a rather aggressive approach to dealing with a glowing tree. I'm going to cut it down.
Well, I mean,
oh no,
you're
it's still glowing.
You're in the nuclear age now. You're in the atomic age. If something glows, it's gotta be radiation.
That was literally it. I mean, with the Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and the knowledge coming out about radiation, there was a little bit of a radiation panic, which was what led Mr. Libertini to sort of jump the gun and go, "Oh God, is this radiation?"
Remind me again what year the Radiation Girls took place in?
Oh, the Radium Girls?
Yeah, the Radium Girls.
That carried on. The lawsuits carried on through the
But that
1930s.
That was during World War II.
Their jaws were falling off and we were not yet panicking.
Oh yes, because they were painting the face of clocks, and the paint they were using, they were accidentally ingested.
Radioactive, yeah.
And they were lied to for years about.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that began during World War II, though.
Okay.
But
All
wait,
right.
there's more trees.
There are more trees, because trees are weird. The second tree incident involved the rain tree of Sparrows Point. In this case, there was a neighborhood tree that seemed to be raining on clear days. There was some debate between an entomologist who believed the rain came from leafhoppers and Mr. Scholz, who found limited presence of leafhoppers on this tree. Scholz's explanation involved a small environmental phenomenon caused by the stacks of the nearby Bethlehem steel plant and the movement of air over this specific tree. Suffice to say, it was probably a slow news week. Mr. Scholz went on to accomplish much more important things, like designing heart vessel clamps and an artificial heart valve. He would move on to obtain a law degree and even patent a non-souring cream that he sold to Cool Whip. But with all of this, why was there a polka dot house?
Why indeed? So, as Mr. Scholz was working in rural Maryland, he decided to build himself a workshop nearby. So in 1954, he bought some property and built a workspace. He then added an apartment to the building. This was to explain why we said earlier that it looks like a garage, not a house, because that's what it was. It's a garage. He added an apartment to. The Sun paper in 1960 described it as such. The house resembles an abandoned volunteer fire department and is a one-story box building with a flat roof and large garage-type doors on two sides. An apartment is partitioned off.
That was highly complimentary.
Whoa.
I feel like it was accurate without...
Yeah.
Was it lying by omission? When Mr. Scholz's wife, Teresa, moved to the property, she commented
that's her.
that the place had no personality. They didn't have Home Depot yet at the time, did they?
No.
You couldn't go to like Lowe's or Home Depot and just go to aisle 5 and buy the personality for it?
I thought the personality was at IKEA.
Yeah, IKEA's too far away. So as a result, Mr. Scholz said, we decided to do something about this strange-looking place and experimented with painting polka dots on the back wall.
Because that'll fix it.
Well, it gives it
course.
personality. It definitely gives it personality. That is definitely a man's solution to the problem. The house is boring, honey. No problem. I got you covered. We're going to paint circles on it. That'll make it better. Definitely a scientist. Despite a lack of positive reaction to their plan, the Scholzes hired a University of Maryland student who laid out and painted a variety of green, red, and chocolate brown polka dots over the walls in different sizes.
I did not realize that was the color scheme. Oh my god, that's disgusting.
Green, red, and chocolate brown. I'm reading it again. Green, red, and chocolate brown.
But if you're colorblind,
I don't know, but that's husband
it
and
would
wife.
all be red. It would all be brown to you, wouldn't it? If you were colorblind.
Or
If you were
gray.
red, green, colorblind.
Yeah, for me, they're all the same color. It would work out fine. But, I mean, for others, it might be offensive
Unfortunately, I
looking.
have real eyes.
Maybe the student was colorblind.
The problem is that
Well, see,
Teresa and Lewis went along with this color scheme.
well, no,
They
because
chose it.
despite a lack of positive reaction to their plan, the Scholzes hired a University of Maryland student. So the student had reservations about this.
No, they talked to people and they showed them the back wall. And nobody really was fond of it. But hey, personality.
I mean, we have a picture here that's in black and white, and it still is really, really bad looking.
But it gets weirder.
No, but the black and white is fine. I can imagine it either being a white house with black spots,
Yep, that's what I
or
was-
a yellow house with kind of purpley spots or black spots, like a little cheetah.
Tasha's off in La La Land now.
The
Been
house
all
was featured in the
evening.
Baltimore Sun again in 1971. The Baltimore Sun really likes just following Mr. Scholz around, don't
Yeah,
they?
the Baltimore Sun and Mr. Schultz have a thing, I think.
It's just every time it's like a slow like Tuesday.
What's Schultz doing?
Somebody go out and talk to Scholz.
It's got to be weird.
So, having expanded the house on two sides and added a greenhouse, the Scholzes needed more space for their growing boys and ever-expanding library. So the library's going on the second floor?
I guess so. I never got into the second floor.
Okay,
I don't know if that even really was the second floor. It was like a second house on the roof.
Well, yeah, but was the
It was
roof
a ramp. It was like Swiss Family Robinson with polka dots and less trees.
Did the A&E firm do like a structural check on before putting books up?
I don't know.
Since the polka dot house had a flat roof, the simple solution was to drop a prefabricated house on the roof. Apparently, the second largest crane in the Baltimore region was hired to place the halves of the prefab house on their roof.
Was it a Sears one? Do you know?
No, I don't think Sears was making houses at that point.
So this would have been in 60s, 70s?
Yeah, it's 1971.
So 71 is when the house was expanded, so it would have been a mobile modular home sort of.
Yeah, it basically looked like a
The picture looked like a double wide.
It's like a double wide ranch house.
Yeah. Like the polka dots, apparently this was also Mrs. Scholz's idea.
Oh dear.
Yes,
The polka dots were her idea?
What?
somewhat. This took a lot of digging to actually find all of this.
I mean,
I
the want for personality, I suppose, could have been her.
Now, the question may be why, how do we know about this, and why are we talking about the man in the polka dot house?
Just a moment before we get to that, I just want to wrap up with the polka dots. Mrs. Did she have Stockholm Syndrome?
I don't know. As far as I know, they were both actively involved in the insanity. I have not. I knew one
Kindred
of Mr.
spirits?
Scholz's sons, who was a little bit estranged from him, I believe. I have not reached out, tracked him down, interviewed anybody. This all started off with my remembering the polka dot house, and then going, "Hey, I wonder if we can research this," and then spending some time trying to remember his name, and then finding his obituary, and then getting into newspaper archives, and then newspaper archives lost everything. And this has been, when did we first record this? It was probably last summer or something like that.
It probably was about a year ago. That's when we had one microphone in a bathtub or something horrible recording.
Yeah, the recording quality was horrible, and the entire episode was like maybe 25 minutes. And really working off of the theory that as long as your name is spoken, you are not forgotten. Was part of why I originally wanted to do a Louis Scholz episode, and then I was sitting there going, we need to do more with this than just 25 minutes of one microphone and bad sound. And so we've come back for this. But how did we get here? How did I even find out about this? I got involved with the Polka Dot House because I used to work at a bicycle shop in Westminster called White's Bicycles. And there were, White's Bicycles was, if you've ever seen the TV show Northern Exposure, it was like working in something, if Northern Exposure had a bicycle shop, this would have been it. It was like walking into this almost old general store. I mean, there were the new bicycles for sale. There were antique bicycles hanging from the ceiling. There was Brad White and his parents running it. His parents had a coin shop next door, and I believe his father was, well, he talked about working in a place under a field in Virginia, if that says anything to people who understand that. And was, what's that, early CIA, I think? Yeah, I think he was like CIA or something back in like the 50s or back before it was CIA. So they were neat folks to work for, and some of the nicest people on the planet, too. Brad, unfortunately, just passed away about, I think, 2 years ago. And so really enjoyed working there. And one of Brad's friends, who was studying to get his medical doctor degree, he and I were working in the repair shop, I think probably one Saturday or something. And every now and then I would drive in my World War II Jeep. And I was teaching. This was just something I did to fill in during the summer, so I wasn't just sitting on my farm going nuts. It's better if I'm actually talking to and engaging with humans for a couple months. So he'd see me driving in my old Army Jeep, and he's like, "Do you want another off-road vehicle?" And I was like, "Eh?" And so he starts talking about this thing that his father has that's British, and his father spent a few $100s on it, and it hasn't run for a while. And I think they just wanted a few $100s for it. I'm like, okay, I'll come take a look at this. And so they give me directions, and I drive down and go out to this rural area and miss the driveway twice. And back when these Baltimore Sun articles were being written, you could actually see the polka dot house from the road. By the time I got there, there was a whole forest grown up around there. And so when I finally found the driveway, I'm heading up the driveway, and there's trees, and you finally get through the trees, and there is this. The Baltimore Sun photos don't even represent what it looked like when I got to it, because one corner of it seemed like they grabbed a corner of an old New York City Art Deco skyscraper and grafted it onto the building. There was the house on the roof. The house on the roof had a ramp going to a hillside. There was an addition off of the front that I think was made out of some sort of old industrial glass garage doors. The hillside was buttressed with like military surplus shipping containers from World War II. And then there was just workshop added onto workshop added onto workshop going in different directions off of it. So I met Mr. Saw Mr. Scholz's son. He introduced me to Mr. Scholz, who took me inside. And like in the Art Deco corner was his law office, just beautiful floor-to-ceiling books. There are these heating grates in the floor, which come into play in about a minute here, because I was taken down to one of the workshops, added to a workshop, and opened the door, and there's this weird vehicle there that later on turns out to be called an Austin Champ, designed by committee, probably one of the worst designed vehicles on the planet. That could be like 3 episodes in itself with how much I hate them. And they gave me a vague direction as to where to find a light switch. And I hate the Saw movies. I honestly but the aesthetic of the Saw movies, I really feel like they could have, if they wanted to, they could have just used this place for a Saw movie and not needed to pay for a set or anything, because there's giant machinery everywhere. There's just, once again, with the fact that there's an addition on an addition on an addition, you walk through like one workshop to what looks like the outside of a house, and then you go through that to another outside of a house. This is me going through, looking at all this, going down this tunnel, trying to find a light switch. And eventually I got lost to the point where I looked up and there was one of those heating grates in the floor above me, and I could see, I think it was a grandfather clock or something, and realized where I was in relation to the floor plan above, and was able to navigate myself back out where I came and finally find the light switch so that I could take a look at this monstrosity, which I then headed onwards to purchase. And so I purchased this Austin Champ, once again, designed by committee. Just picture a bunch of British officers after World War II with pipes and a lot of gin and maybe some hallucinogens or something like that, looking at the World War II Jeep and going, hey, how can we make this better, and then making it 1,000 times worse?
This is how MK Ultra started.
And maybe. In fact, the only person I've met, one Remy mechanic who hated the Austin Champ as much as I do. I met one British officer, my friend Father Guy, God rest his soul, who loved them. That's because he was an artillery officer and they weighed so much they wouldn't move when the gun was fired on them. But I decided to buy this stupid thing. And I call up my long-suffering tow truck driver, Bob, who the first time I ever met him, I got him to pick up a car down in Baltimore for me, which was nightmarish for him, threading his old truck through these alleys. And then he'd been through a couple other adventures. In fact, I should just write down that we should do a podcast of Bob stories. So I called him up and I said, Bob, I need to pick up this vehicle, and it's going to be easy. And Bob is quiet. And then he says to me, he says, Merlin, he says, if you say it's easy, it will somehow or other involve us getting a sky crane, going to Afghanistan, stealing gold bullion. He says, please don't say easy to me. I said, all right, how do you want to meet somebody who worked on the Manhattan Project? Because Bob was a big history buff. And he goes, oh, cool, I'm there. So that was my in.
See, that's easy.
Yeah. And Bob got his, threaded his big flatbed up to the polka dot house a couple weeks later, and then managed to back it down the rickety path that was shored up by all of these old shipping containers. And then he had a wonderful time chatting with Mr. Scholz. Well, they both looked down from above and watched me fuss with jacks and move things and finally get this disaster monstrosity on 4 wheels to the door so that Bob could winch it out. And it was funny, I was talking to somebody, I taught at Owings Mills High School at the time, and I was talking to somebody there who turned out lived in the area. And she goes, and she says to me, she says, "Oh, you were at the Polka Dot House?" I said, "You've heard of it?" She said, and she explained about how everybody in that area used to be able to see it going down the highway before the trees grew up, and how it was one of those just sort of very noticeable and very questioned by people in the area, as we have seen from these Baltimore Sun articles and stuff like that. And I think, what was it? I think so I bought the Austin Champ there, and then a couple years later, Mr. Schultz's son got a hold of me because Mr. Schultz had passed away, and the son wanted me to go out and look at some other vehicles on the property. And that was when I ended up taking a cat home, because Mr. Schultz had passed, so he wasn't living there anymore. Apparently the tenants had left, and they had just left their cat, which was a Hemingway cat. What are they?
Polydactyl?
Polydactyl.
Yep.
Yeah, I always want to call them pterodactyls, and I'm like, no, that's a flying
It's a
dinosaur. So got up there, and I have this cat there's a broken container. I think he had managed to roll himself down a hill on this cat carrier, and the cat carrier hit the house and then burst open. Oh my God! And so the cat, which I later named Ernest because he was a Hemingway cat, just followed me all over the property as I was looking at things. And eventually, I called Mr. Schultz's son, went to the supermarket, got the cat some food, heard back from Mr. Schultz's son that the tenants had left and probably just abandoned the cat. And so my last takeaway from the Polka Dot House was Ernest the Hemingway cat, who lived in my workshops at my farm for a few years after that and continually tried to pick up wrenches. He was wonderful. And that was how I ended up.
He's got the thumbs to do it.
He did, and he would sit on the fender of my little tow truck or other little Jeeps that I was working on, and he'd fiddle with crescent wrenches and screwdrivers because he was very concentrated. I'm like, my God, if you could actually figure out how to lift that. He was interested. So that was how I came to find out about the Polka Dot House and Mr. Louis Scholz. And that's the story of the man who lived in the Polka Dot House.
What a fascinating story, really.
I am genuinely upset right now that I can't picture things in my brain because you gave the most beautiful description, but I want the interior that you described.
I wish I
want
could
the layout.
draw the interior. It was so interesting.
It sounds so fascinating, and the way you described it, and I'm upset that I cannot composite that image.
Yeah, because, the main house was, you had that Art Deco library. Then the workshops were, there were machine lathes that you could stick a Volkswagen Beetle onto. They were so big.
Oh, my God.
Because he would take equipment in trade for doing, instead of legal fees. So if somebody couldn't pay for something, he'd take equipment for the workshops, or he'd take a vehicle, or he'd take something in trade that he was interested in.
I love when we work on a trade system like that.
Yeah,
so that makes me so happy.
Sort of like the country doctor of patent attorneys.
And being in the Baltimore area, probably all kinds of just fascinating stuff that would have come out of either the industrial areas of Baltimore, or I wonder if the Champ came by way of like Aberdeen Proving Grounds.
Yeah, I have no idea. No, actually, the Champ was brought in by some surplus company.
Okay.
Because I remember it had a tag on it from the surplus company that I figured any good mechanic worth anything should haunt the people who ran that surplus company if they're still alive. Because really, if you just want to look up a disaster, look up Austin Champ. There's a reason why there's only 900-something of them left in existence. I think I kept that thing for 6 months. It has a Rolls-Royce engine in it. It's unrepairable in the field. I had a friend who was a Rolls-Royce mechanic who worked on vintage Rolls-Royces who came in and was even just dumbfounded by the whole disaster. So yeah, they're nightmares. And if we did a vehicle podcast, I would probably spend like 2 episodes just ranting about them.
Why is it so round?
Not only are they round, they're proportionately wrong. From a distance, they look World War II Jeep-sized until you put people in them. And then you put the people in, and the people are the size of Barbie dolls because these things are so stupidly gigantic. They had to assign, I think it was 3 Land Rovers, which were civilian designed, but were reliable, to one Austin Champ when they went into the field, so they knew something good would come back.
I just found an image of one of the Austin Champs where someone had put the words "little weirdo" over it. And like, yeah, it is.
But it's sort of big, and weirdo just makes it seem cute. And oh god, it's not cute.
There's some sort of cartoonish charm to it.
Until you try working on one.
Oh yeah, and then it loses all charm. I get that. Then it's just a nightmare in sheep's clothing.
I'll include, I think I actually have a photograph of the Austin Champ, and I also have photographs of the...
5-year-old drew a Jeep.
Yes!
Yeah. And then I also have photographs of part of the reason I was sucked out to the property was because Joe's son, or Lewis's son, had a collection of Jeeps out there, which was the first reason, which was the other reason I was sucked out there.
I'm finding more Austin Champ memes. They are...
Yeah. We'll find those and share those. That'll be like a lead into this episode. But right now you can't see them. So shall we wind it down?
I think so. It's
God knows when.
late.
Well, happy Friday the 13th.
Did you pet your black cat today? Break a mirror?
See, I did cross paths with a black and white cat. I did walk underneath of a ladder.
There you go. That's something.
I haven't tried any of that today.
But I'm not up on the salt in the mirror and stuff, so I haven't done those. So.
All right, so we will sign off for this episode, or we'll just keep rambling onwards, which we can do on our own and not force you to continue to listen to it. As always, thank you very much for listening. We know you have literally a million choices out there. And also, as always, if this episode reminds you of a person, a story, a place,
something worth remembering.
Something worth remembering, something that you'd like to share with us, something that you'd like us to do a deep dive on, you can find us on Instagram. You can email us at merlinsbarn@gmail.com. Or you can follow our Facebook group, the Barn Owls?
Yep, the Barn Owls Roost.
So you have many ways of contacting us, and we would absolutely love to hear from you about what you think maybe we should be covering or one of your stories. Once again, thank you for listening, and you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whichever.
This year we've been celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Civil War and the 50th anniversary of the beginning of World War I and the 20th anniversary of the end of World War II. So all in all, it's been a good year for the war buffs. And a number of LPs and television specials have come out capitalizing on all this nostalgia with particular emphasis on the songs of the various wars. I feel that if any songs are going to come out of World War III, we better start writing them now. I have one here. You might call it a bit of pre-nostalgia. This is the song that some of the boys sang as they went bravely off to World War III. So long, Mom, I'm off to drop the bomb, so don't wait up for me. But while you swelter down there in your shelter, you can see me on your TV. While we're attacking frontally, watch Brinkley and Huntley describing contrapuntally the cities we have lost. No need for you to miss a minute of the agonizing Holocaust. Yeah! Little Johnny Jones, he was a U.S. pilot, and no shrinking violet was he. He was mighty proud when World War III was declared. He wasn't scared, no siree. And this is what he said on his way to Armageddon. So long, Mom, I'm off to drop the bomb, so don't wait up for me. But though I may roam, I'll come back to my home, although it may be a pile of debris. Remember, Mommy, I'm off to get a commie, so send me a salami and try to smile somehow. I'll look for you when the war is over, an hour and a half from now.